All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Today is day number 27, day number 27 of this new construction project. We are going to be talking a little bit about the framing and the sheathing. We're going to be talking about framing, sheathing, moisture barrier, and we're going to talk a little bit about windows. All right, so here we go. This is the project as it would look in this morning. They had a lot of the stuff, or pretty much all of the framing done. Here's where we are a little bit later on in the afternoon. This is OSB plywood. This is half-inch plywood. It's technically not a full half-inch, but it's just called half-inch OSB. OSB is this composite stuff that basically, if you were to go to a lumber yard and you were to pick up all of the leftover clippings and shavings and all the other stuff, that's what they make this stuff out of. And what they do is they compress it with like some hardcore resin and they make a piece of plywood out of it. And that's the stuff that we use. Now, this is for sheathing. And all that means is that, if we have high winds coming at this property in any direction, let's say we have a lot of high winds coming here. So in order to keep this building from shifting this way, what we have is this bracing here, this OSB. That's the purpose of it, and that's why we use it. Again, if the winds were coming this direction, what we don't want the building to be shifting this way or the entire thing. You would understand how that would be more likely if there was no sheathing, right? So just as a quick example, one of the other things that other builders do is that, they'll just go over the top of this. Basically, they'll put the moisture wrap right here on top of that, and then on top of that, they'll just put the pieces of siding on top of that. And that does not provide a very good amount of sheathing. If we were to get high winds going this direction, the whole entire thing would seem like it would just topple over, right? And that's the purpose of us doing the OSB. So the OSB stuff is, what's approved. It's on the architectural plans. We do it every single time. It's a little bit more, but guys, I just feel a little bit better. Honestly, I could sleep better at night. A lot of builders, they just kind of just, I don't know, man. Some of these properties are built a little bit cheaply. I know it's probably costing me an extra $1,000 to do this, but it's really not that big of a deal to me, honestly. So I wrap the houses with this OSB to just as a, ensure that the property is done structurally sound. All right, so I got a quick video for you guys here. Let's take a look what's going on. So the guys out here are basically putting up this stuff. One of the things that we have now that we didn't have before is the posts. So you see how there's a metal piece right there? That stuff is there so that, it keeps it from just the water from protruding in it, even though it is treated. This entire piece of lumber right here is going to be treated wood because it's really, direct contact with water and soil and all the other stuff. So I just wanted you to take a look here. Oh, good news, we got the windows delivered. So the windows that got delivered, man, that's an awesome big step because one of the things that we're going to be doing tomorrow is going to be the moisture barrier and the window inspection. So because we have that tomorrow, we got to make sure that those windows are there so we can go ahead and just get that done. Okay, now I want to point something out here real quick. You see how all of these pieces of wood are just all different kind of like, lengths and dimensions and stuff here. It's kind of a weird thing, right? But basically what these guys are going to do, they're going to pull a chalk line and they're going to pull it here and just bring it all the way across. And so what happens in this scenario is that they'll cut it where it needs to be, so it's at 12 inches exactly away from the structure. And then that way, the pieces of soffit that go underneath are going to be, they come in 12-inch pieces. They also come in 16, but 12 inches should suffice. And basically what that does is gives us what's called the cornice. So you'll hear people talk about the cornice, and basically it's just like they're building a box that goes around there. And it's a piece of 2x4 that needs to go on there. We had to reorder the 2x4s simply because the bunch of 2x4s that we got from the big box store, they were just kind of just crooked. Just the longer the piece of wood, the more likely it's going to be, a little bit warped. So that's basically kind of what happened there. And so we're just getting something better. And the difference is going to be this, okay? This is a number 2 single southern yellow pine. It's This piece of wood right here is just a 2x4. It's called number 2 wood, and it's called SYP, Southern Yellow Pine. That's a pretty standard piece of wood that we use in construction. Now there is something a little bit nicer and better and more expensive. It's a number 1, or sometimes we just use, if there's not any number 1, we use white pine, just WP. That white pine stuff is going to be a little bit straighter, and we want that to be straight because it's going to be an aesthetic portion of the house, which is going to be, the soffit and the fascia. All right, so real big foot stomper here for you guys is going to be these cameras here. These cameras, believe it or not, they're fake cameras. They're not real. They are just big, crazy fake cameras. And we have these on there just to deter people from wanting to steal or, thinking about stealing on the property. We have them on there all the time, guys. Every single time. I'm telling you, get them from the dollar store. They're only $1.25. We don't want people stealing the siding, the plywood, just stuff. It's a really good theft deterrent, in my opinion. All right, as we can see now, we have the Tyvek home wrap. I love this stuff. This stuff is moisture wicking. So what happens is that anytime the moisture starts to come into the house, it'll start wicking it away from the house. And so I'm going to show you tomorrow a little bit of what these windows are going to be looking like once they start getting put in. There's a specific way. It's nothing too complicated, guys. Your guys should know that. What they need to know really specifically is that we're going to have an inspection on this property. And so because we're going to have an inspection on it, they need to be aware that they need to be careful about how the windows are installed. Okay, one of the things here that I wanted to point out is going to be the wind bracing. That's another inspectionable item. So you see this here, we want to make sure that in certain areas, well, in the areas, so if you could see through this, you would see that there's the 2x4 stops right there. So we want to brace the top 2x4 to the bottom 2x4. Okay, we want to brace this part to this part, and then along with everything else. Because essentially what happens is in a situation with high winds, yes, we were talking about the sheetrock, or I'm sorry, we were talking about the OSB being shear factor, but in a situation where the winds are coming up, it's coming up underneath the soffit and pushing up. You could potentially start pushing up. And so now one of the things that code calls for is for this stuff to be put in order to keep the house anchored down so that way the roof doesn't like go flying off. So there's some other ones here that they're called hurricane straps. These are hurricane straps, and these are also an inspectionable item. So if you can see, these things have a face. They have a little face going this way, and they have a little face going this way. And so what we do, or what's required for the inspection, is that we have the top plate, which are these two here, anchored to the rafters, the ceiling rafters. And so we do one, we skip one. We do one, we skip one. So there's one, you skip that one, and then you have another one there. I don't know if you can see it. Do one, skip one, and then boom, you got another one right there. So very, very simple, but this is part of the framing, guys, that we're going to be doing. Always ensure that you tell them up front, hey, look, whenever we're quoting this whole thing, and if you use my same guys here, not a real big problem. They already understand. They already know how to do it. But it's inspectionable. Everything that we do has to pass inspection. These guys need to know that. So be upfront with them about it, so that there's not any surprises. If there's any failed inspections or anything like that, they need to come back and fix that stuff. But, that's really ultimately what's, give you success. I think that a lot of people really get scared of doing, projects inside the city limits, and they really shouldn't. Because whenever you do a project inside the city limits, and let's say you just don't know exactly what you're doing, you have a third party, impartial party, which is the city of whatever, Conroe, Willis, whatever, city of Houston. They're your third party impartial people. They're looking to make sure that the property is built up to code. So if there's anything that's off or anything that's crazy, they're going to let you know and tell you to fix it. And what we don't want to do is use guys that are just going to slap it together, because you're going to be very, very frustrated. Use guys who have experience with inspections inside the city limits, because they know this stuff. They build inside the city limits. One of the things that I do all the time is we poach framers, we poach sheetrock guys, we poach these guys from other job sites. If they're working inside the city limits, they already know how the whole process works. And, a lot of times you can get some good guys like that. These guys are not loyal to any particular builder. They just want to work. You know, like I told you guys recently, they were working this Sunday, and you know we have rain coming on, so they're probably going to be taking a break anyway. So that's all I got for you guys today. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.